Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk to you about this, my shipping container machine shop, what's changed, what hasn't changed, and what probably should change, and what it's been like to work in it for the past year. Okay, starting things off from this side, first with the air compressor. I did a video on this a little while ago, had to do some work on it to get it running, but it works pretty well, especially in the summertime. Wintertime, not so much. It's plumbed in with tubing. There's a connection there, there's a connection on the other side, and there's actually one outside just below where this is here. This area, totally different. There used to be a belt sander here, as well as a shelf that would just get covered in these chips. I put that in a shed. I built a shed since I last did one of these shop tour videos, so I've got stuff that shouldn't be in here stored in the shed. So now I have room for my OA setup and other stuff over here, such as my line flush oil. Still storing stuff on top of the mill. Still haven't figured out where that VFD is gonna go. So right now it sits up there. I made this nice little setup, which is a battery charger setup for all the types of batteries I have, which is DeWalt and the 12-volt Milwaukee batteries. Really nice because a lot of the time I will come home from doing a job where I've been using power tools or something, and I'll open up this door and I'll be able to just reach right in, don't even have to come in the container, reach right in, plug in my batteries, and it's done. Milling machine, I rebuilt the oiling system and installed this oiler on it, which has been a huge upgrade. So I actually made my own manifold. I should have done a video on this because I actually tore down the whole table. I ended up having to shim the gib. Did a whole, basically an overhaul on the table XY wise. I still need to come up with from here to these fittings so that I can get the Z, but for now, I'm able to just put oil on that manually and it's okay. You use that a whole lot less than the other axes on this machine. I had to do kind of an interesting thing here where this is metric to a standard. This is actually a grease gun hose, has an 1/8 inch NPT on each end. And so what I did is I actually made this little adapter here to where it's 1/8 inch NPT to 4mm pipe, whatever you want to call it. So it's actually that diameter that goes into a compression fitting to fit a metric compression fitting. That was one of the hardest things about this project, is finding a way to go from standard, which I can buy here in town, standard fittings, to metric, which seems to be the only thing on Amazon. Moving on to these toolboxes, those are pretty much the same. I've been considering placing the mechanic toolbox closer to that door. I find myself working on things outside of that door frequently. Climb up in here and walk all the way in just to get a wrench or something. So that's in consideration, is to actually move that box over there, keep the machinist box closer to the machine tools, but for now it's not too pressing that happened. This area is a little bit different. The OA setup used to be, it was here for a bit, it was at the end of the lathe, totally in the way for a bit. Once I moved that shelf out of here, it became a lot less of a problem. So this bench now has more room around it. I'm able to move it around a little bit more, utilize it a little bit better. It's nice that the vices are farther apart, but still somewhat close together, rather than being right next to each other. Speaking of moving things that weigh 400 or 500 pounds, is I finished the crane, which I also did a video on, but the crane is fully functioning. It's a Harbor Freight chain come along, which is pretty useful because it just hangs here all the time, except for when I go and move a piece of equipment or something and I need a chain come along, then I just take it down from up there and it is still working as its intended function. But for a small light duty crane in a space that I can reach like this, it works just fine. So it's a really cost-effective, efficient way of doing that. The welding bench is more of just a workbench, more of just a flat surface with stuff stored on top of it. As you can see, that cord there is what I use to plug in that little Hobart welder when I take it outside I have discovered that most of the work I do welding wise is done outside, summertime, wintertime, you name it. In here, I'll do a little bit, but I'm not gonna go doing a whole job in here. There's just not enough space, not good enough airflow, and you get slag all over the place. One big upgrade that I'm working on currently is making this. You guys have seen in a video where I made this. I did a short on deepening that keyway, as you can see. I recorded making this plate and shrinking this in there. I believe that recording was lost. So I'm gonna do a video on welding this up and machining it to size to fit this. So in the long run, that is going to be a back plate for that 4-jaw chuck. And so then I will have faceplate, a 3-jaw, and a 4-jaw chuck all ready to go on this machine. That is when I have the time to play with my own stuff. Most of these chips that you see in here are repair jobs that I've been doing for various pieces of equipment or things that I'm working on for other people that are more time sensitive. As we're on the lathe, I have been using it, the last 3 feet of it anyways, as a workbench, actually a flat surface storage bench, as you do. This machine is definitely too long for this space. I have never actually stretched something out full length in this machine. I think I could fit something over 6 feet long in this. And most of the time, I don't need to do that. As you guys have seen in some of my videos, I'm usually working right where that carriage is sitting, which is right up at the chuck. So this last 3 feet is pretty much unused. So I figured, why not? Originally, I was gonna make a fancy tabletop thing that sits here that can be used as an actual workbench, but I figured I might as well just throw this piece of plywood on there, see how it does. It is incredibly useful for holding tools while I'm working on this machine, while I'm working at the lathe, or doing anything else in here. So I really like that. Maybe one day I'll get around to putting something on there that's a little more sophisticated looking, but for now, that piece of 1/2-inch plywood is doing a really good job. As far as things that should change in the container, first of all was that toolbox that I would potentially move from over there, that first one, move it over here somewhere closer to where I'm normally accessing it from. Second thing is hardware storage. I really have nothing set up as far as that goes. I could do another French cleat system that goes here, or I've been considering extending it out past the milling machine out to there, where I would hang a cabinet with possibly a shelf that holds nuts, bolts, pins, all that good stuff. I like the idea of having it stored over there. That way it keeps it away from the dirty section, which is over here. Granted, the main reason I moved that shelf from this container into the shed was because of the mill throwing chips all over the shelf and just making a giant mess. So that's the main thing that I would change in here, is better machine shop related hardware storage rather than just storing it on the floor. This is the shed that I mentioned that I built. I store construction tools, things that shouldn't be in the shipping container machine shop. This is a fun future one. I think is going to be some sort of welding / fixture table. Nice big 600-pound piece of cast iron. This table is an absolute game changer as far as things I've added. It's outside. Right now it mostly stores wood. I think it's about 36 inches wide and 8 feet long. I had this formed to go on top of it, and it works great as a really big workbench / welding table. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. I will see you on the next one.